So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Prestige Path Podcast. I'm your host, Franklin Oyaromoguche. I know you've noticed the change of environment. I'm currently at Kisii. I don't think we find this in our towns or wherever we live or our places of work. Most of the time we escape reality by coming to places like this. Being Men's Mental Health Month, I'd like to officially introduce this episode with a short summary of what we are going to talk about with Esther Iringu. In this episode, we are going to focus mainly on the sicknesses that affect people. We are not generally going to talk about depression or stress or anxiety among men only. We are also going to talk about it vastly, how it affects the normal human being. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Remember, the more you subscribe, the more the channel grows bigger, the bigger the guests we bring here. Thank you.
So, hi, my name is Esther Iringu. I also go by Soni. And I'm very grateful and excited to be here today. Thank you, Frank.
You're welcome. We were supposed actually to have this podcast like a month or two ago.
Yeah, a month ago.
We were to talk about mental health, but some things came up which could not be escaped. We had to do one or two things to ensure that the date was perfect for this particular episode. First things first, can you tell us a bit about your background and what drew you to work in the mental health sector?
Okay, so I grew a lot of interest in mental health issues after I took my course. I did social work and community development, and mental health is one of the issues that are affecting us in our communities and societies. Also, as I was growing up, I felt like I didn't have people around me who could understand me, or if I approached them, they could judge me. So that is why I felt so pulled, or mental health thing was calling me by my name. So that is how I found myself so interested in mental health.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting way of approaching a question like this. I would like to hear how you interact day-to-day life in the area of work that you are in.
Okay, so for now, I'm still growing, but in a day where I have to be on the ground dealing with mental health issues, usually if it's facilitation, we usually do some mental health literacy training, which is mainly about creating awareness, because creating awareness and spreading information is one of the most important ways of dealing with mental health issues around us. So in a day where we're working about it, we mainly do the sessions with the groups we are dealing with, and then after that we do the testing, yes, or the assessments to see whether the message was delivered, and also we deal with the people who need a little bit of more attention. So they come to us, they see us, they talk to us. So yes, that is just how a day goes.
Okay, that's a lot of things that happen in a day. And what are the different types of groups that you hold these sessions with?
Yes, so first of all, they're school-based. So we can do them based on the years, especially if it's about schools. We can take the age groups. We can maybe do 12 to 15, 18 and above, so that we can deal with groups according to their ages. Also, the most recent group we had, it was a youth group. Yes, we had a youth group around Magongo. Yes, so we just take any group, also the street kids. Yes.
That's actually very thoughtful. Are you part of a group or you do this work alone?
No, I'm a part of a group.
What's the name of the group?
Yes, we have an organization, or a CBO. A CBO is a community-based organization. It's called Thrive Together CBO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it countrywide, worldwide, or it's just a local initiative that you had?
So it's based in Mombasa.
Mhm.
Yes, we're actually also trying to make it. Maybe someday it will be a countrywide thing, an international thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually a great plan that you have there. How would you define mental health in simple terms?
Okay, so Frank, before I answer that,
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you a question first.
Yeah, sure. I've been waiting for this all my life. No one has ever asked me a question.
So,
Yeah?
do you think mental health is a good thing or a bad thing?
Generally, it's a good thing,
Uh-huh.
but you have to look at the statistics over here. I don't know if I'm going to answer your question, but I'm answering this question. I feel like I'm answering this question that you should be answering. So it's vast. We have mental health in the state of mind that you are sober, and mental health in the state of mind that you are not sober. And the not sober part is what brings about depression, PTSD. Yes, that is how, in simple terms, I would explain to a person who has never had a book and a pen on their hand.
Okay, so the reason I asked you that question,
Yeah.
it's because most of the people, some of them I've interacted with,
Okay.
they say mental health is a bad thing or a negative thing.
Yeah.
Some will say it's a positive thing, and the truth is that mental health is a good thing, because we say mental health is it's the state that will help you identify the stressors and come up with coping strategies to help you get yourself out of the stress you're going through.
Okay.
Yes, so on the negative part, we have a name for it.
Yeah.
Yes,
I would
so
like to
and
hear
I
that.
think that is where mental health illnesses, mental health problems and disorders come in.
Okay.
Yes, but mental health is a good thing. Yes.
So you've talked about coping, the coping mechanisms that various people use. Do you think that all application of these coping mechanisms can be beneficial to the person who is undertaking them, or the person who will receive these things?
Yeah, actually, you're right. There are people who adapt negative coping mechanisms, and I think the most common negative coping mechanism that people adapt is running or going towards drugs.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's very common, especially amongst our youths. I'm stressed, I can't deal with this, so I go get some weed, I get high, and then I feel so relaxed. I get some stress, I go get some alcohol, I get drunk, I sleep it off, and then I'm good. But I'd say that if we adapt those negative coping mechanisms, it's not a permanent thing. It won't solve my problems permanently.
Okay.
So most of the time, in most cases, it ends up ruining or making the situations much worse, because if I go for drugs, I might get into addiction or other problems. So adapting negative coping mechanisms is also something else we try to address and encourage people, or in this case our youths, to normalize adapting coping mechanisms such as self-care, which we'll talk about it as we continue with the discussion.
Okay, so what are the common myths and misconceptions about mental health that people have?
Okay, so myths and misconceptions around our communities are so many, especially because most of us, most of the people in our communities don't have a lot of these informations. Now we find, or maybe we've ever been in that I know maybe probably you've ever addressed a person as mwenda wazimu.
Yes,
And-
all my friends, if you're watching this, ni wenda wazimu. But I
Yes.
don't mean it.
It's very common.
Yeah.
So where we relate mental health with such words that huyo ni mwenda wazimu, achana na yeye. Sometimes we might say the person was cursed.
Yeah.
Yes, it happens. Ama we say the person was bewitched, alirogwa. And it's very common to hear people say mtu amerogwa, right?
Yes. Very
Yes,
common.
and it's a myth because mental health illnesses or disorders are not related to maybe the spiritual
Realm.
beliefs. And also another myth and misconception that we have is saying that if a person is mentally ill, it's a shameful thing or a weakness. So nobody is like cannot get to a point of being mentally ill. So, and it's so wrong if we relate it to a weakness, because the moment we relate mental illnesses to a weakness, I'm going to feel like if it's a weakness, I can't even talk to it because I don't want to be seen like a weak person.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to accept myself. So I'd really encourage people to stop relating mental illnesses with the aspect of shame and weakness, but embrace it, embrace these people, show support. And also another thing that I'd say it's a myth is saying that mental illnesses are caused by poor parenting. So maybe some of us believe that if my parents didn't raise me in the right way, I'm going to be mentally ill, or that person is mentally ill because their parents didn't raise them well. Okay, parenting, of course, have a lot of impacts to our mental health, but we can't fully relate it to generally a person being mentally ill. It's going to, and that is where those coping mechanisms comes in, because as you grow up, you see the dynamics of the society. You get to know what is right and what is wrong, and we don't have to adapt everything that our parents, or to carry everything that our parents brought us up with. Yes, so a lot of times, and of which it's so believable that poor parenting can lead to mental illnesses. But now, if we're able to come up with those coping mechanisms to help us address that,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be a very huge issue to lead us to being mentally ill.
How does mental health later in future or at any point in someone's life intersect with physical health?
Okay, so our mental health generally, it's almost or just the same as our physical health. Now, there's the relationship between our brains and our bodies. So if our brains are not functioning well, it's going to affect the way we do our things. So that is how our mental health affects our physical health, because on a day that I am so stressed, I might get numb to even do things normally. The way I usually wake up, clean up, so psyched up, go to work, and then now on this day I'm so stressed, I'm so distressed, so I'll just wake up, have a lazy day. I'm just feeling like isolating myself. So basically, mental health and physical health are so they're so interconnected, because one thing supports the other. Yeah.
So can you explain the difference between stress, anxiety, and depression? Let's start with the most common, depression.
So depression, which is very, very common, uh, is a continuous feeling of sadness, loss of interest, and feeling so hopeless, so worthless. And so we say a person is in depression when it happens for weeks and longer. Yes. Depression, you can go in for screening. So it's advisable that if you have that feeling of sadness, hopelessness, you just feel so worthless for more than 2 weeks and more, you just go in for screening, and then they're going to do the screening so that they can get to know whether you're in depression or not.
Okay, I'm briefly going through the approximation of those who have mental health issues under depression.
Okay.
Approximately 5% of adults globally experience depression. And adults, I think it's 18 years, or let's say 17 and above. In the US, around 7% of adults are affected by depression each year, and over 16% will experience it at some point in their lifetime. This is according to the Cleveland Clinic approximation. Depression is more common in women than in men. We're also going to talk about that. And it can affect people of all ages, though it often first appears in late teens or early 20s. Late teens, early 20s, those are youths.
Sure.
Yes. So let's talk about depression in being very, very dominant among the female gender.
Okay. So I feel that women are likely to be in depression a lot, because okay, I wouldn't say actually it's women. I'd say it's because women tend to come up and speak up more than men, because I think you'd conclude men are the people who are mostly affected by depression, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but as women, we have that tendency of seeking help. But the factors that may cause women to get into depression more, I think also, so our bodies, they do change a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, so that could be one of the reason. So the many stages that we do go through, there's the puberty into motherhood, then menopause. A lot of those things, they can tend to overwhelm or frustrate a lady. Also, women have a lot to handle. Yes, because especially in our homes, we usually see our mothers handling a lot of business. So they'll handle us, the children, the husband, and a lot of things generally. And also, I'd say that women or ladies tend to face a lot of maybe challenges from our societies, especially from Kitambo, where a woman was so downgraded, or like the power was mostly given to a man. So it will leave a woman with no place to run to. So I think that will have some effect on that.
Okay.
But for men also, Men also have a lot of things going on with them.
Sure.
Yeah. No, the problem is that they just don't want to speak up, maybe because you're going to feel weak